So that's a great question because it comes down because there are two different communities that are basically AI practitioners. Of course, there's a lot of open source communities that are doing research, that are doing sort of alignment studies, that are coming up with interesting ideas to look at the ethics. But those are guys who are outside the corporate space. Stuff that can touch your life. That's stuff that government does. That's stuff that private corporations do. And obviously, if the AI, if the models that they're using are beneficial from a materialistic or a profit motive, they're going to keep it secret and hidden as much as possible. So the risk is absolutely real that a private company, something like Facebook or Google, for
It's
example,
already happening.
yeah, it's already there.
Edward Snowden's already told you.
Well, that's a slightly different story. So the time Edward Snowden was doing Project Prism, AI was not super sophisticated like it is today. We've got some fantastic things happening now that was not available at the time Edward Snowden was around. Edward Snowden's problem was with surveillance, which is a completely different problem, but ties into where AI comes in. Yes, yeah, but it does tie into AI. But if you look at the types of AI solutions we have today, Edward Snowden would have only dreamed of that stuff compared to what he had back in 2009 2010. Yeah, things have changed quite drastically in the last 10 years.
So, if you were, let's say, somebody of particular internet power, an overlord of the internet,
Yeah.
would you make companies like Facebook open up any AI they have and have that AI uh, uh, that anybody can interrogate its very bedrock?
I don't know if opening it up is really the thing that helps, but certainly being conscious of the fact that there is an algorithm producing these outputs.
Facebook is working for the government,
Well,
from the US government, or it will be shut down. Yeah. It's already been taken into Congress.
I want to focus on.
that's
AI is working for the government. I mean, the FBI is on top of it.
All right. The man thinks the
I don't think.
AI is working for the government.
Of course, it is.
Good.
It would never be able to be separate from the government.
Yeah, I don't want to make this conversation about government. I want to try and keep it on.
We're going to get.
Is about the government and power, bro.
We are
Okay,
going to get to
then
that.
we understand.
We are going to
You're
get to
going to
that.
pay your energy bills.
That's changing the
That's
subject.
another
a little bit.
algorithm. It's
Yeah.
another algorithm, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. See, there's this. Why are Facebook and Google dangerous? Okay, or what makes them dangerous?
Data gathering.
It's that's the thing. That Google and Facebook have amassed a corpus of data over the past 10, 15 years that they've been around. I mean, they've only been around. Facebook's only been around since 2005.
2008, is it?
2005.
Since MySpace was down.
So since 2005, companies like Google and Facebook have amassed such a massive corpus of data around what individuals do, how they interact with one another, and on top of it's such a vast corpus of data. Now, a single human being or a simplistic algorithm will not be able to parse that data usefully and effectively. What they will end up doing is running AI on top of it to be able to figure out what are the useful relationships, what are the valuable points of contention. Policing is one. So policing is one thing, but it's more ominous than that. It's it. What they can also do is nudge people uh, in certain political directions. To give you an example of how people get nudged, and this is completely accidental. Right-wing radicalization on YouTube. That is such a common story happening on YouTube, and the algorithm, and it's not like YouTube are deliberately interested in making people more right wing. It's just that the algorithm is giving people more and more of what they want, and more in a certain way, hitting them in that way. So suddenly become more and more radical in whatever dimension it is you're doing, purely from the basis of personalization. So this is an accident. Imagine what they would do with the data, knowing how they could do it deliberately. Like they can definitely radicalize people on demand if that was an option. It's available.
Well, we had a case, as you well know, we had a case with Cambridge Analytics.
Yes.
That not doesn't own Facebook, but have a very very close knit relationship with them, and they were paid by some rich kids to help turn the general election into Trump's favor with this radicalization.
100%. So I can even tell it to you like from a more benign standpoint. I used to work for an internet marketing company. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, marketing like t-shirts and shoes. You know what I mean? Nothing too fancy. And what Facebook would do is something called an audience exchange. So if you as a company, you're Mr. Businessman, you're the guy selling t-shirts. I have these are the characteristics of the customers I want to market to. You would give that to Facebook, and Facebook would match those characteristics with its own people, and then push ads to them. Now that's for t-shirts and shoes. You just have to change the product to be something political. Once that changes, suddenly it becomes a political platform. You want to go from t-shirts and shoes to politics? It's a very minor change of the algorithm. It's not even a change. It's just what are the content of my ads?
So AI can be politically constructed.
Weaponized. Yes.
Oh, wow, what a word! I think when it comes to artificially owning human beings that are trying to engage with the internet,
Yeah.
weaponized is an extremely appropriate word.
Absolutely.
Weaponized to become radicalized.
So here's the interesting thing, and a lot of people when I approach them with this subject, a lot of people tell me it's like, look, ads, those are just ads. People don't change their minds just by looking at ads, and that is true. Someone who is like firmly like say you and I aren't going to suddenly vote for Donald Trump just because I saw an ad on Facebook. You know what I mean? So what it does is a bit more insidious than that. It doesn't change people like you and I. It detects people who are likely to change.
Psychological, yeah.
Exactly. Who are likely to change and targets people. So the aim isn't to have overwhelming change, but to nudge enough to be able to trigger a substantial change.
I mean, that's so disturbing.
Yeah.
And I think they call that nudge theory.
Nudge,
where,
that's right, yeah.
And so again, this comes to the AI being controlled by human beings. It's not an entity which is a free fall in its own consciousness.
No, it's not conscious at all.
Keep talking.
Yeah. It isn't. The thing is, people tend to confuse like and think of this algorithm as a human being. No, it's nothing like a human being. Yeah, it's nothing. It's absolutely, it's nothing like a human being. It's been fed a data-based view of the world in terms of models, and all it does is detects correlations.
That's so profound, that observation of yours, and it's so disturbing that us as human beings cannot demonstrate free agency when we go on the internet, because it's constantly it's being converted to become radicalized by the people that own companies like Cambridge Analytics,
Yep.
Facebook, and they're using AI not to set the human being free. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but to imprison and radicalize.
So
is that fair? That assessment?
So that is true, but there are also elements where AI has set human beings free, and that is from basically drudgerous and laborious work. That yes, you can definitely use AI to optimize certain types of jobs that humans would find extremely dull and uninteresting. But at the same time, that's all that yardstick of what a drudgerous and difficult job is has gotten higher and higher. So something like a paralegal, for example, now you don't need a human being to hold the position of a paralegal or a legal assistant. You can completely defer that to an algorithm.
Wow.
Or someone to answer your phones. Because of GPT-3, GPT-3 is like the latest algorithm that OpenAI put out a couple of years back. It's called the Generative Pre-trained Transformer. I know it sounds super sexy. And all that does is it produces sequences of language that abides in a response to what you're giving.
From human intervention.
Yeah.
So that is a positive example of AI, which I experienced.
Positive and negative. So you're going to be so positive in the sense that yes, it makes some people's jobs easier, but at the same time you are taking away jobs from people. You see, so someone is going to lose their livelihood on the back of. So someone like, say, a diagnostician, a GP, for example, AIs can diagnose faster than a human doctor can.
Doctors, you think they will?
some
I don't
some
think doctors
some
are allowed
GPs.
No,
some
I think
GPs.
he meant just some certain areas, some
Certain
basic
areas.
jobs,
So-
not literally all jobs.
So to give you an example, something like identifying whether or not a tumor or a growth is cancerous or not.
Ah, yeah,
Something,
wow.
and we're talking
Wow.
today the diagnosis for by a human doctor is something that could take maybe weeks to get
Yeah.
through the process. And using an AI, using a computer vision algorithm, you can do that in hours
And do mass on mass as
and
well.
do it en masse.
Yeah.
So
That is
Yeah.
when it comes to our health, then AI can be profoundly rewarding
Yes,
and
yeah.
powerful.
That's the thing that I keep stressing to people. At the end of the day, AI is technology. And what technology is, it's a force multiplier. It takes something that humans can do and amplifies its effects. Now, how that effect happens depends on the wielder. I can take a spanner and use it to fix something, or I can take the same spanner and bash someone over the head with it.
Yeah.
The problem is in the person holding it, not the spanner. The spanner doesn't care.
So therefore, we come back to a point that I was trying to allude earlier to. That
Yeah.
we cannot have what you're describing is so powerful and dominant in our lives. Therefore, I would believe it's an absolute necessity to nationalize all AI and not nationalize. Actually, I'll hold that thought, but absolutely make it open source. Firstly, open source all AI that interacts with our lives, because if we don't have it open source, then we'll never know how it exists. And having it insidiously control us is not what we want from AI. We want it to be going through our what you've just described in our medical. That's very rewarding. And I know that Google is working on some pretty amazing AI, which is again also very rewarding. So do you think it should? I mean, you said no a moment ago, but I mean, having it privatized just means secrets, and where
the thing.
secrets,
Here's the thing.
you have control.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. I don't know if there is one solution to this. It's not just say no, make it open to everyone. I don't know if it will solve all the problems. But what I think definitely is number one, it needs to be so the effect of AI. It's literally three effects. It's scale, opacity, and propensity. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. We good?
You ignore me doing that.
No worries.
Just it's the end
So-
of the day, so I've been recording all day.
So the problem with AI, it's a question of scale, opacity, and propensity. So scale in the sense of it can touch the lives of many, many millions of human beings at the same time. Number two, the effect of its impact can be extreme, like you can stay in prison, not get a job, get given exorbitant insurance premiums just because an AI decided. So again,